Welcome to the Cricket8 Podcast. I'm Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, and I'm joined today by Rob Barron, and we're going to chat about the age crisis in T20 cricket. But before we do that, remember to support us by signing up to cricket8.com for fun games, 8,000 live scoreboards a year, and all of our content just like this. Rob, how you doing?
Yo, pretty good, mate. Thank you. For fans of my face, they've just made me install a massive, great, big, bright spotlight. So hopefully that will help people, and we will sort the shadowing issues out momentarily. But other than that, I'm great. What are we talking about again? Age? Old people or young people?
Old people, Rob. So let me set up this premise for you. So I'm in a Discord group, and shout out Osprey, who first brought this particular point to my attention. And since he brought it to my attention, I've been doing my own kind of thinking and research around the particular topic. Now, he sent me a stat where he said, if I'm not mistaken, close to 50% of this year's CPL, so that's CPL 2024, close to 50% of the players in CPL are over the age of 30 in this year's CPL. And I think he did a further deep dive, and I think the stat he gave me was something like somewhere between 15 to 18%, possibly higher, are over the age of 35. And when I saw that, I wasn't shocked. Don't get me wrong. So it wasn't like he said it and I was like, whoa, I can't believe that. So it wasn't like I was shocked. But the first thing it did for me was confirm something that I've long been thinking in my head. And to use the Trimbago Knight Riders as an example, I've been saying for a while now, when Pollard Bravo, that's Dwayne Bravo, who's actually, interestingly enough, just announced that this is his last CPL at the age of 40. So when Pollard Bravo, Narine, and Andre Russell all step aside Pollard and Bravo have already gone from IPL. When they step aside from T20 leagues and for a team like TKR, apart from Nicholas Puran, there is no franchise player. There's no player who you build a franchise around in terms of image rights, and you can try and tell a story that they're larger than life and that they define the genre and you should come out specifically for this person. Now, don't get twisted, Rob. I'm not talking purely in the West Indian context, because I think you can extrapolate this and extend it to Australian players, maybe some of the England players, and so on and so forth. And then I'm giving you such a long intro for you to dive into this properly. And then I thought, is this because when T20 cricket first exploded, it still needed the legacy of players who had been there and done that in Test cricket for T20 cricket to be a thing? And now, if that's true, which I'm not saying it is true, but if that is true and that theory is true, what's happening now is the natural consequence of players who had a legacy before the kind of real explosion of T20 cricket are coming to the end of their careers. Kind of like when footballers go to MLS or Saudi or whatever it might be and be like, well, coming to the end of my career, let me go make that money in these T20 leagues and then bow out. Which raises a question, and this is why I've posed the moot point here, Rob. Does T20 cricket have an age crisis? Because who's the next gen? They've got no legacy. The next gen haven't done enough in cricket as a whole for us to buy into them as bigger than the game. So is there going to be a crisis going forward? Rob Barron, discuss.
Yeah, well, cricket has lots of crises to deal with. I don't think this is a massive one because sport brings through youngsters by its own design. That's what happens in sport. People want to play in it. I think Trinidad, if you take that one, firstly, it's good that we had the percentage of players that are over 30 rather than the average age, because when you've got Imran Tahir playing who's 73 years old, that's going to skew it wildly anyway. But when you see some of these names, I think, like, you made a lot of points there, but just to deal with Trinidad, first of all, there was a time I'm going to say 5 or 6 years ago where I was just loading up on Trinidad before these tournaments and having loads of
Mm.
money on them to win it, because their first 11 was a complete joke compared to some of the other teams. When you look at the names, they've got like 5 potential T20 World 11 players starting in every game. But if you now we've wound forward 5 years, and you see Narain, Pollard, Bravo as the mainstay of that side,
Mm.
it looks great on paper and it looks great for people marketing the league and marketing that particular team. But in reality, Bravo shouldn't be playing in a tier 1 franchise competition anymore.
Yeah.
Like either Bravo shouldn't, but Dwayne definitely shouldn't as a bowler. His batting has gone, but he's just rocking up and trying to bowl his, slower ball slot nonsense, and it's getting absolutely panned now. He's too old to be doing that. You can't do that at 40 years old, unless you're James Anderson. So the other point you made about all these guys basically just getting paid, you can't blame them for that. So what cricket needs to do now is differentiate a bit between which leagues are we meant to take seriously and which leagues, let's be honest, are just bookie leagues so that people can gamble on them and that people can get paid at the end of their careers. Now, I am not digging anybody out for going to get paid for saying, right, I'm 36.
Yeah, I agree.
I can go and play in the... Look at what Warner's doing now, and Brathwaite, when he's not smashing his helmet into a tree, what he's doing now. Sure, go and play in the Cayman Islands, go and play in Canada, go and play in Dubai next week and all that. All these Mickey Mouse leagues, because me personally, as a big cricket fan, I don't care about any of them. And it is nice when you finish work to come home and you're just watching some cricket. Any old crap is fine. No problem with that. Have those leagues for that, right? But it used to be, for me, CPL's always been my favourite because I just loved it from right back in the day when it was the black bats and the black pads, and even before Stanford came along with his, suitcases full of dodgy cash. I loved whatever the CPL was called back in the day, the Caribbean T20 or whatever it was called. Brilliant competition because it kept bringing through youngsters that you saw performing on this stage over here in England at midnight. You switch in a game on, you're like, wow, look at this kid. And back then that kid was Pooran, right? And now your cricket is I think that the overall point that that Discord or whatever that thing was that you're on, the fella was making, is that we're now at the stage where people who came through at T20's inception, and let's not forget Trinidad itself was a huge team for bringing T20 into the public eye, right? They beat New South Wales or whoever it was when they played in the Champions League
Champions
T20.
League, Champions League T20,
RIP, one of the best competitions that's ever been put together in terms
That's been the only version of T20 cricket that I have genuinely gone out of my way to watch, I would say.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome because the context and the standard were both cool, right? Like it meant something that you could win your domestic and you go, right, you're going to go and play against the Aussie ones. And this was before Big Bash, right? It was before there was a Melbourne Strikers and a Melbourne Stars. You played New South Wales and that was a gun team with a proper attack. And when Pollard won a game from nowhere against Brett Lee and the others, that is what put T20 cricket right at the forefront of it. And it turned Pollard from somebody that a few of us knew about into a megastar, like pretty quick. He did it twice, didn't he? Just pulled games out of the fire when they needed 50 off 22, and Pollard did it. And back then, that didn't happen. Now it happens every day. Back then, it didn't happen. So Pollard was the first one to do it. And then you turn the CPL on and you're like, wow, this is a really good competition, high level, quality overseas players, but we're seeing all these young guys blooded. Now, the problem that cricket faces, and I don't think it's a crisis yet, is that they're packing these lineups with names. Like, why the hell am I watching Imran Tahir in the CPL now? Come on, man.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Like, he's 45 years old. He is making the tournament weaker. It's not his fault. Can't dig the guy out for getting cash, but why the hell am I watching a 45-year-old man hobbling around in the field and celebrating like he's won the World Cup when he gets a wicket when they need 7 to win off 40 balls, right? I don't need that in my life anymore. I've seen it enough. He should not be taking the place of somebody who's 21 who is trying to be blooded by the Caribbean. So what is happening now is they're kind of hiding one guy. So Trinidad are hiding, is it Shakir Paris? At like number 4. You're just like, try, do your best. We've seen Kofi James batting at 3, who is a guy that's got undoubted potential. That's cool, but when the rest of your top 6 is Roy, Narain, Pooran, Pollard, Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
we're just having a youngster in for the sake of it. It's almost like a quota thing. We're just having one young
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
And what
Yeah.
needs to happen is that if we're going to take the tournament seriously, which I have gone from thinking that the CPL was, in my own head, the CPL was the best thing after the IPL when it was
At
in
one
its
point in
heyday.
time, yeah, I'd agree with that.
And now when I'm seeing injured and old players rocking up to get paid in the CPL rather than any of them are there for cricketing reasons, it's becoming something that is turning more towards one of these beer leagues or bookie leagues or, you know, same men wearing pajamas playing against each other every night. It's turning into one of those. And I don't want that from the CPL. The CPL has a real chance to be one of those competitions where we see West Indian youngsters being blooded at a high level rather than watching them see how they get on against Imran Tahir, because there's a huge difference there, right? So I don't want to see lineups full of players who I've heard of and then one kid in each team or one fast bowler, because you can easily get a first baller, or you're the only kid out of the 6 in the region that's got a genuine chance of playing in this game. So you're the kid, and you get there, and you're like, well, you see, what did James get in his first go? Like 20 off 23 or something.
Yeah.
And that is an unmemorable innings, but you can't blame the guy. I mean, you shouted the 250 off 20s from the 17-year-old that we've seen already, or 50 off 30. You called him out in the under-19 World Cup. Everybody knew what we were going to get. Those guys will take their chances, but we need more guys to be given chances and stop hiding, filling up your rosters with names of players that everybody knows, whereas actually the cricketing output that I am expecting from half of them is pretty much nothing. And it feels like so let's move away from the CPL per se.
Yeah.
A lot of these leagues that I thought were really good, the Big Bash had a chance of being a great league when it started. The product was excellent, right? Going to watch a Big Bash game was really good. It was good for families. They sorted the fan experience out. It was class. But I went to the Big Bash back then when it started, and I went and watched Chris Gale bat. And he was the draw of T20 cricket worldwide at the time. It was prime Chris Gale. It wasn't 42-year-old Chris Gale who's just turning up to get paid and is going out after. Now in the Big Bash, I mean, they had the joke COVID year, which we will excuse them for, having Justin Avocado play for every team because they've got a pool of players who don't have COVID and whichever ones can play. We'll give them that. We'll write that year off. But then the Big Bash went, well, we can all get a bit more money if we just have an extra 30 games, totally dilute the standard, adding extra teams when they've got enough anyway, all this stuff, nonsense. Sort the leagues out so we're watching a good product, and there's enough nonsense T20 leagues where people are just there to get cash that you don't need to dilute the ones that were established before cricket became totally mental. So why don't we have the Blast? Obviously we're going to kill the 100. The Blast, the CPL, the Big Bash, the PSL, the IPL, right? They're the 5. If you want to add if Sri Lanka can, get its act together, add one in Sri Lanka, add one somewhere else if they can get their act together. But they were the core ones that are supposed to be attracting good players and be proper leagues. And then all the other crap, all this stuff that's turning up in Canada and every league that happens in Dubai every 6 weeks or whatever it is, fine. Have as many 45-year-olds as you want playing and manufacture, new rules so the scores go really high and play on 30-meter boundaries and all that. But let's have some of the leagues that are at least half proper. And one of the ways to do that is by letting young people have an opportunity from those countries, whether they're from Pakistan or from England or from Australia or from the West Indies or wherever. Give those domestic players a chance to show us what they can do on the big stage, because that's exciting as a cricket fan. It's way more exciting to see what Kofi James has got than it is to see what Imran Tahir has got this week.
I think you're being too kind. And let me explain why I'm saying that. Because your analysis there is, or this is what I'm hearing, is based on the idea that these leagues will see sense and will start to realize, oh, we should probably do something to ensure that these youngsters are blooded. Take IPL out of the conversation because it's obviously exclusively on 75, 85% Indian, so that will naturally happen, right? And you could argue the T20 blast, it will naturally happen or should naturally happen. But sorry, I'm trying to think how I want to phrase this point. Again, I don't want to keep using CPL, but just because it's on my mind, I don't think these leagues will act till they have no other choice. Do you get on?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if they were thinking, and this I know some of these leagues have no sense. If they were thinking in terms of their product, they'd already be panicking about how much life have we got in this? Who are our I'd like to say that phrase I used at the beginning. Who are our franchise players? And I think every league has to ask themselves that question. Go from IPL to PSL to CPL to BBL to LPL, whatever. Every single league should be looking at their rosters going, who are our franchise players? How old are they? How many more years have they got? And if in your league the answer is maybe 3 years tops, shouldn't you already be thinking about what happens in 3 years then?
Yeah.
But I don't think enough of them are. So you said at the top of the show, talent naturally comes through, and I hear that. But talent isn't naturally marketed. You can have a good young player, but the marketing for that young player has to start. You have to already be thinking about how to market. There's a reason. I'm not a basketball fan, but basketball fans who are listening to this are about to say that I don't know what I'm talking about. But there's a reason. There's a reason why LeBron James is still the face of the NBA. They can't find another franchise player to market that is bigger than LeBron James. LeBron can't keep going. He's 39. How many more years can they get out of him before they suddenly have to look at the rest of the league and go, well, who the hell are we going to market around now? And I think some leagues are in that problem where it's almost like they're squeezing the fruit and going, we'll keep marketing around these guys. What happens in 3 years' time?
Yeah, so why is the answer to who are our franchise players always Faf du Plessis? Because it basically
there you go.
He's always there. And again, it's not Faf's fault. He probably had another 2 World Cups in him from a South African point of view of playing at that level. He is good enough, or was good enough 2 years ago. But Joel Andrew was the guy who I didn't name check a minute ago. He was the guy I was thinking of when I'm thinking of a young kid who they could have hyped up more. You hyped him up before the CPL started. You were like, this kid has got game, right? He rocks up and he's already blasted 2 really good innings in the first 3 or 4 matches. He's clearly somebody who has an extremely bright future. And blasting your way onto the scene how many times have we seen guys totally rip it up in the under-19 World Cup? All that means is they've developed quicker than their peers generally.
Yeah.
It's like a fast bowler can take a boat. Like, look at Mafaka. Everyone's like, this guy's amazing. Yeah, he's amazing against school kids. And then he turns up in the IPL and he's like none for 60 off his 4 overs or something. It's like such a different level. You watch Jewel and you're like, okay, look at the shots that I am watching here. These are against actual bowlers, right? What the CPL could have done there is before the tournament, have some people, they've got people like yourself, Mash, that can identify the talent that they've got, these young kids, and go, let's give these guys a bit of a push. You know, you can say, yeah, we've got who have they got in that team? Fakar Zaman or somebody who's already
Which
left.
one is that? The Antigua team.
Yeah, Mohammed Amir's in it. Like
Imad
Walsh is in it.
Imad Wasim, Hayden Walsh, Chris Green, etc.
Is anybody wildly excited about watching Imad Wasim and Chris Green playing cricket again? Like, is anyone that bothered about it? Because they were playing in the 100 last week and they'll be playing in something else next week, right? Let's say we've got this kid, like Fakar Zaman goes over there and he's done some great things in white ball cricket, but he's already gone. Like, no one cares because Pakistan have said, can you play in some other competition for us, please? You could say, yes, Antigua. If you want to market Antigua as a team, they're called something else now, aren't they? Let's say, right, we've got these guys, but we've got this young West Indian kid who you're going to want to come and see. Show all this TikTok or stuff I don't understand, Twitter or whatever. Show 20 seconds of him gunning it everywhere and go, look who we've got here. He's a guy that is not a from what I can see, he's a young kid. Let's not big him up too much. A total flash in the pan. That's what these leagues can do. And yes, maybe I am being a bit too kind because essentially we're just watching whichever old guys who have done stuff in T20 previously want to have a game. That's where we are with these leagues now.
Yes,
And
exactly. That's my point.
the
Yeah.
other thing about that is we're not even getting them. So as a fan, you want to, if you want to support a team, and in the CPL more than any other league, that's a big deal because you're from that island, right? You want to
Yeah.
sit there and you want to cheer Antigua on. You don't want to cheer Barbados on just because one of your players plays for them. If you're Antiguan, you want to cheer Antigua. If you're from Barbados, you want to watch Barbados playing cricket and cheer those guys on, right? And they used to have a bit of an identity where they would have Holder or whoever for Barbados, and they say, "We're Barbados, let's go." And then it all got a bit murky. With Trinidad, you can go, right, we've got Pollard, and then people keep swapping around. That can happen. That's fine. But what you can't do is go, we're going to use our marketing, or we're going to give it the big noise about having Chris Green and Imad Wasim if they play 3 games and then they're replaced for somebody who is just the same as them, just another guy that takes a deep breath and bowls 4 overs and hits it a bit at the end, Chris Green, or somebody that can kind of do a bit of everything, Wasim. There's lots of players that do that stuff, and then they just go, right, we've got 3 games of CPL, but we're getting slightly more money to play in something else, so see you later. You can't get any kind of fan engagement from that. From somebody who goes, oh, I saw this guy, Chris Green, I thought he was great. Oh, well, he's not playing now for the rest of the season. Fak Zaman gunned it. I want to be a Fak Zaman fan, and I really like Antigua. Oh, he doesn't play anymore. He's going somewhere else. So now we're going to get Sam Billings in. Where's he playing now? Oh, it depends. Like, is he going to carry drinks for England next week? No one knows, right? So they've got to start having players where they go, we've got this guy for the season, at least the season. Otherwise, who cares? You're just watching the same players in slightly different coloured clothing every night. That's all it is now. So teams need to try and get identities. But we always come back to the same point with these podcasts, right? Is cricket is in such a huge, great big mess because certain people at the top of the game are just trying to get a little bit richer, that nobody is ultimately responsible to sort the game out and go, why is this happening? Eventually, people will vote with their feet, and then they will wake up, right? That's what happened in the England Test match the other day. Everybody just assumed there's people enough rich English people. Everyone goes to Lords, right? Everyone loves going to Lords. So it's people will continue to pay £100 to go and watch a cricket match for a day, and they will pay £13 for the worst kebab you've ever tasted in your life that makes you sick. I mean, I literally did that 1 week ago. They won't, right? It got to whatever day it was, 3 or 4, quite a well-poised day, 2 down, 2 proper guns set, and no one turned up. So cricket will now have to do something about that. Eventually, people will stop watching this crap, and then cricket will have to act.
So I'm just gonna so for those listening, thank you, by the way, to those who have been in the comments. You're probably thinking, why did Rob and Mash not put any up? Well, I forgot. but I have just seen them. So thank you to those who have been in the comments. We're making this a really quick one today, so we're only going to give you 25 minutes of me and Rob chatting about this. But please, if you're in the comments, keep getting in the comments. If you're watching this on the replay, do leave your comments afterwards. But more importantly, this is a serious topic, believe it or not. This age crisis thing. I genuinely think this is something that can be, as ever on Cricket8, we talk about things that could be talked about for another 2 hours. But Rob, before we close it off, I'm going to just give you this, because you say what you just said about players coming in 3 days and then XYZ. This news broke earlier today, right? So St. Kitts and this again, CPL. St. Kitts, and if everyone thinks I'm not gunning for CPL, it's the competition that's on right now, so it's the most obvious one to use. St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots have signed Mohammed Mohsin and Josh Clarkson for the ongoing CPL. Sikandar Raza is unavailable, so Clarkson will replace him. Shamsi might be called up for national duty and has to go back, I think, for some South Africa awards, so Mohsin will replace Shamsi. Now, here's the thing, Rob. I have no idea who Mohammed Mohsin is or who Josh Clarkson is. And do you know what's worse? People who support St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots in St. Kitts, I bet they have no idea either. What on earth is Mohammed Mohsin and Josh Clarkson supposed to do to get people in St. Kitts excited to watch CPL? You could have found some St. Kittitian or at least some Caribbean player somewhere in the region to try and replace Shamsi and Sikandar Raza, right? So when, I'm not saying that this is always going to happen, but if in 2 years' time, after doing deals and trades like this, where you bring in some no names who people don't know, right? And your team is crap, if in 2 or 3 years' time the people are saying kits go, I'm not watching this, this is
Yeah.
nonsense. That is a problem that they have created, CPL, themselves. That's not the fans' fault. That's because you've done things like this, which leads to no engagement and people thinking, what is the point in buying into this?
Right. So if those two that you've just mentioned were selling tickets or giving tickets away on the streets, nobody would know who they were. And that's an issue, right? That's a big, you've got to be a cricket fan beyond me and you, which it don't happen. There aren't many people that know more about cricket. There's no one that knows more about West Indian cricket, but there aren't many people that know more about cricket than me and you two do combined, right? There aren't many out there. There aren't thousands of St Kitts fans that are like, oh, we got Josh Clarkson. Boom. I can't wait to go. Just to answer that, right, I'm in a group that I'm looking at right now. I'm in a Skype group with 19 people on it called CPL 2024. And it is there only to share news, right? And we go, this is just in the last day. I'm just going to scan through the messages on this group while I'm talking to you. Ayub isn't allowed to play. He's the no objection certificate, tough stuff. Fakar is leaving. That was reported yesterday. Then he played last night. Hasaranga has got a picture of himself on the plane. Now, Hasaranga, we know, is a naughty boy with things that he says and things that he does, trying to hoodwink the ICC and all that so that he can get bans overturned or whatever. So now here's a surprise. Hasaranga's going to play, one of, genuine guy in conversation for the World 11. Then it's reported that Fakar isn't playing. Great. Then it's like there's like 9 things on this group in the last day of speculation that is near enough confirmed of a gun is leaving, a gun is joining. 2 players, the guys you've just mentioned, are on there. These guys are playing. These guys aren't. It's a joke because no one knows who plays for any of the teams, and the tournament itself doesn't appear to care. So where does that leave the fans? Eventually, the fans must think, no one cares about me even a little bit, so to hell with them. I'm not paying $20 to go and watch. No chance. I am not paying 50 quid to go and watch some 100 game when they've changed all of the overseas players since last week. All of them. Like, who the hell am I watching here? I can watch any of that crap on the telly. I don't care about it anymore. But until people do start voting with their feet and just not turning up and not paying, cricket won't do anything about it. Unfortunately, with all the TV money that it gets, I still pay my Sky subscription.
Yeah.
They're not going to care for a long time because they still get that. I mean, I remember watching all those test matches when there was nobody watching India, and India went, doesn't matter because we're still getting people paying loads. We've still got all the TV money. So who cares? Who gives a toss about that? And so we can see, being inside cricket, what the problems are, but the guys and the girls at the top that are making all the cash don't care about them. So until somebody cares, nothing is going to happen. Full stop.
Well, Rob, we're going to leave it there because that's enough. That's enough for people to kind of chew over and either tell us that we don't know what we're talking about and tell us that everything's going to be all right, or say you two don't even know the half of it. It's even worse than that. But either way, get in the comments below, people. Let us know what you think about that episode, what your thoughts are on that particular episode. And remember, cricket8.com. You don't really get content like this anywhere else. So thanks for listening to the Cricket 8 podcast. Remember to sign up at cricket8.com for podcasts like this, plus the fun games and the live scorecards with all of the data. I've been Machel St. Patrick Hewitt. Rob Barron has been King Rob Barron, and we'll see you again very, very soon.